I'm Todd, and welcome to our first ever remote live event. You know, we're all about bringing the community together around these veteran stories. And we tried this a week ago, and it was fantastic. And people are joining us here on Zoom. And I think a lot of people, are starting to watch on Facebook Live. And since the end of March, we've put all our events online. We have these virtual events live 3 times a week. Plus, we have a video cast, a podcast.
I wanted to do something in World War II because all the men were getting to do all these exciting things and the women could do nothing but sit at home. The Navy just appealed to me because I could get a direct commission since I'd finished college, and I liked the uniforms.
In my area, all of our villages, all of our hamlets were in one village. There was no rural population. So we moved by just driving down the road. We were strictly there as advisors and liaison. And we liaised with the American artillery, American helicopter support, and that was basically it. I was only in the field with one other American. Everything was totally Vietnamese.
Of course, went in during Vietnam, and the alternatives, I looked at it and said, I really think I'd rather go fly airplanes. I really was more interested in the route I went. I mean, I would have been glad to fly fighters if I'd gone that route, but I was happy to get into the airlift business.
I talked to a lot of the veterans that a lot of service members who went to Afghanistan before Iraq. They were like, look, we know that, then they spoke directly to me. They were like, we know what you went through in 2003. We understand 2005. This is a whole different monster.
One incident has remained with me for many, many years now. This young man reached into his hip pocket and took out a wallet, and he showed me a couple of photographs. When I saw the picture of his parents and his little sister, I thought of mom and dad and my baby sister back home. And it hit me very, very hard. And said to me, this man is a fellow human being. He's not a subhuman animal, as I was trained to think of the Japanese as. And I think it's one of the most important experiences that I had during the Second World War.
Around the clock, and it didn't matter whether it was midnight or noon. I was just glad to be there. And especially when the kids didn't have any gun or chocolate or anything. And the candy companies heard about it, and they sent me all kinds of goodies to drop to the kids. So that made it special.
So at that time, he's still single, and he didn't know anything about the baby or taking care of baby. But luckily, his driver that been married and have kids, and he would just say, you just use the water and dip your finger and put it in her mouth, and she would suck on his little finger with the water. That's what stopped her crying.
That stopped her crying.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
In September of '72, I was brought over to the United States. So at 10 months old, the only thing I ever knew was growing up here in the United States. My dad was Air Force, and one day they plopped a baby in his arms, and I guess it was my lucky day because he decided to adopt baby number 899.
So Kim was the last civilian, very last civilian to escape Quang Tri after that big battle.
When you talked about the desegregation of the military. Just think about this. Even though it was desegregated, you still didn't hear about the significant things that African Americans did. Like, growing up, I didn't hear about the Marines from Monty Point. I didn't hear about the Harlem Hellraisers. You heard about the Tuskegee Airmen, a couple years ago. Dory Miller just got recognition. So just think of all the things that we have done in the military that we never got credit for.
Being young and not knowing what to do and being afraid. I'm like, I was sometimes, I've heard this before, right? Like I was more afraid sometimes in my own unit than being deployed to Iraq.
Between going through flight school and not seeing a whole bunch of people that look like me, I realized that I could not be isolationist when it came to that. I had to figure out a way to bridge the gap. And I had a very successful career because I have friends of all different races, all different creeds, all different religions. We are not just one monolithic group of people.
It was a blast. It was a suicide car bomb. It was a white Corolla. We were on a mission. I just have beef with Toyota because they just make these they're affordable, spacious, JD Power Associates award-winning bomb-friendly vehicles.
Chrisanne was saying that people with TBI are funny.
I said that's when you know they're coming back. Every word out of your mouth becomes.
All right. Here's the next question. Again, a Navy question. What determined the width of modern battleships?
Panama Canal.
Panama Canal. All right, smarty pants. You guys are so smart. How wide is the Panama Canal? You know what? If you guys were my
I was waiting. I knew it was so that you tossed that one right across the plate.
Oh man, yeah.
I have to say that eating sea rations is easier than doing all of this. If I was in combat and had to do all this, I'd throw it out and eat an apple if I had one.
I don't live far from you. Had I known I was going to get number 15, the Mexican style chicken stew, I would have let you throw me something else off of your front porch. I did eat it though, and it was tasty for what it was.
We call that a backhanded compliment.
Oh, they came up with a ration that was called 10 in 1. And it was enough food for 10 people, 10 men. And they didn't tell us this. All we knew, we found a package of this stuff. So we started to cook it, and it was rice. If they had water, and the more water we would put in there, the more rice we had. We ended up with helmets full of rice, boots